Yes, guys, we are firmly into fantasy football mock draft season. Everyone's getting ready for their drafts, and today I am coming at you with 10 deep sleepers. Last year, guys, we saw players like Jawan Jennings, Jalen McMillan, Tyrone Tracy, Jonnu Smith, basically random. Some of them are rookies, some of them are veterans. All in all, deep sleepers last year. Those players carried fantasy football teams to championships. So we'll just jump right in with the first guy on our list. It is rookie Chig Agholor, and he is a classic X wide receiver out of Stanford University. If you know a single thing about Agholor, is that, well, you've most likely seen the highlight of him absolutely mossing Travis Hunter, who I believe went 4th overall. Now, Hunter was drafted to play wide receiver, but was still a very, very good cornerback in college. And Agholor has this one highlight. I mean, sheesh, absolutely all over him. Like I said, classic X wide receiver. We're getting the strengths such as he earns deep targets. He has great body control. He tracks the ball very well. He's very efficient. But what I get so excited about with Agholor is the fact that when I look at the Titans depth chart, I look at the, quote, competition, and sure, we have Calvin Ridley, who is a nice safe floor player with a reasonably high ceiling, but he's a veteran. Okay, so I'm always betting on talented rookies behind veterans, whatever position they play. We look at Treylon Burks, who it's simply just not happening in the NFL. And we look at Tyler Lockett, who is like a double veteran, who is on the verge of retirement. So I really think that Agholor can step right into the wide receiver 2 role on the Titans. It's an offense that is not getting a lot of respect in drafts, which honestly kind of makes a good deal of sense. But if Cam Ward comes in and simply does exactly what's expected of him, exactly what he was drafted at number 1 overall to do, then the second wide receiver on this team is going to be fantasy relevant. I do think it's Agholor, and Calvin Ridley kind of gets banged up. He's older, so we'll see. I think there could be some potential here. And again, guys, all these players today, the remaining 9 players, are deep sleepers. So if you're sitting there saying, no way, not happening, no value here, that's kind of the point, okay? So as you're watching, bookmark these names, okay? Put them on your queue in your draft board because you never know. And the second guy is Roshan Johnson, who's on the Bears. You know who else is on the Bears? Ben Johnson. Last year in Detroit as the offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson's running backs averaged 35 backfield chances each week. 35. Specifically, David Montgomery per game, 16 opportunities, and Jahmyr Gibbs, 19 opportunities. Now, Ben Johnson's now the head coach in Detroit. I do think 2 running backs at least will be fantasy relevant in this backfield. I like Swift a lot. He's going outside the top 24 running backs, and he's never finished lower than RB25 in his career. And whoever that second running back is, I personally believe it will be Roshan Johnson, but it could be Kyle Monangai out of Rutgers, who is an absolute freak. Okay, he's a great running back. Whether it's Roshan or Monangai, and he is an honorable mention for this list, that second backfield in the that second running back in the Chicago backfield is going to be, in my opinion, at least RB4 flex value from a week to week. Certainly a fill-in in deeper leagues. And I think Roshan, with the way he plays, how he'll complement Swift there. Swift has more of the Gibbs in the backfield, and that is a stretch. I'm fully aware, okay? It's Jahmyr Gibbs is much better, but Roshan is more of a bruiser, more of a goal line guy, more of a between-the-tackles guy. Kind of plays that Monty role, so definitely something to keep your eye on. All right, the next player on the list here, guys, is Brenton Strange. Now, last year, he played 7 games with 65% or more of snaps. In 4 of those 7 games, he was a top 10 tight end. So more times than not, when he's given the opportunity in a starting role, seeing snaps, he's producing at a top 10 tight end level, which is great as of last year. Evan Ingram, who was a monster in Jacksonville last season at the tight end position, has been traded to Denver. He accounted for 7 targets a game, a little over 7 targets a game, actually. The new Jaguars GM absolutely loves Brenton Strange, continues to talk him up. And it's pretty simple here. I mean, Strange is the clear tight end 1 on the Jaguars. That's an improving offense. The QB is good. Honestly, I think Lawrence is better than good. So if you're punting tight end looking for a tight end dart throw, Brenton Strange is the guy. There is one other guy here on this list later on that's also a name to monitor at the tight end position. All right. Next up is running back Jaylen Samson. If you asked me, Joe, who is your number one sleeper in all of fantasy football this year, I would tell you it's Jaylen Samson, and that is simply because, as you guys have heard me mention multiple episodes, sometimes even in a row, but Jaylen Samson is 20 years old. RBs who are drafted at the age of 20, and this is a fact, there is data to support this, which we can go into anytime. I've posted an article at NOEXPERT showing you the stats of breakout rate and efficiency and opportunity, okay? Comparing running back draft age. But moral of the story is what you need to know is that running backs who are age 20, drafted at age 20, they break out more often. They're given more opportunities, and they do great things with them. Now, the percentage of running backs at age 20 who do those things is higher because, well, there are less running backs who are age 20. That's absolutely correct. But the reason there are less running backs who are age 20 in the draft are because it's hard to be draft ready, NFL ready at the age of 20. So there's a bit of nuance to the stat, but moral of the story is more times than not, when we see a running back get drafted that young, they're pretty good. Off the top of my head, another running back who is age 20, even a deeper sleeper, guy who's definitely not going to be drafted, is the brother of Travis Etienne, Trevor Etienne. So that is a name to monitor too. Anyway, Samson was one of the best running backs, guys, in University of Tennessee history. Now he's entering the league alongside Quinshon Judkins on the Browns. So I do think that Judkins and Samson could be like a new Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, or a new David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs type of duo. I really do believe that could be a possibility here. All right. Now, interestingly enough, the man who Jaylen Samson ran behind, okay, who started over Samson for his first 2 years at Tennessee, was Jaylen Wright. And Jaylen Wright is the next name on this list. Raheem Mostert on the Dolphins, no. He is on the Raiders now. And that vacates, doesn't sound like a lot, but 8+ running back opportunities per game. And in the Dolphins offense, you really only need 1 or 2 touches to take the thing to the house with the way that McDaniel opens up the scheme there, all right? Now, Wright, he flashed with very limited touches in 2024. I know he had this like preseason amazing touchdown, which everyone will say, oh, it's just preseason. But guys, anytime a player does something with other NFL players on the field that is good, it's worth taking a look at. So Mike McDaniel typically involves at least 2 running backs in his Miami scheme. And I think that Jaylen Wright's going to see close to 10 touches a game, or I should say 10 opportunities a game, just relieving Devon Achane on 20-30% of snaps. He's going to get that work in the elite offense, and honestly, he is one of the best handcuffs in fantasy football, right next to another guy on the list we're going to talk about in a second, and McCaffrey's handcuff, whether it's Garendo or Jordan James, whoever you think that is. Obviously, the Niners' handcuff is a monster, and there is one other guy on this list who I am viewing as arguably the best handcuff in fantasy coming right up. All right, next on the list is Cedric Tillman, Browns wide receiver. So he played 4 healthy games last year when he was also playing full-time snaps. So if you're a little confused on what I just said, he was healthy and in a full-time role only 4 times last season. So some games he was healthy but not getting all the snaps. Other times he was injured, right? Healthy in a full-time role, 4 games. In those 4 games, it was weeks 7 through 11 last year per game. 18.6 fantasy points per game, wide receiver 8, 1 broken tackle per game. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually first, tied for first in the NFL. 131 air yards per game, that's 4th, and 22% targets. It's so rare that we see a guy in fantasy football drafts going so late, so late, I mean close to 200th overall, who was or has produced for about a month in a row at a very high level. Now, the competition, or I should say just the other guys that are going to be getting targets, it's not even competition because they do such different things, right? Jerry Jeudy and Deontay Johnson, these receivers are not the same type, play style-wise, as Cedric Tillman of a receiver. Tillman is a big body, big play threat. The other guys, sure, they have some big plays in them, especially Jeudy, but they're more over the middle, plucking the ball, running tight routes. Tillman is a throw his hand up, run down the field, catch ball, score touchdown type of player. And that's why he was so awesome with Jameis Winston. But I'm not too worried about Winston leaving. Whoever the quarterback's going to be here in Cleveland, dare I say, guys, we love Winston for fantasy, but like he's not that amazing in real life, obviously. I don't see many scenarios where Winston makes wide receivers better. It's typically the other way around. So I'm not too worried about it. I think anyone can get Tillman those type of balls, those type of plays that he needs. And if it isn't broke, don't fix it. I mean, Tillman's going to have this role, I believe, coming up in this season. So we got to be all over him, close to, again, 200th overall. Now, for that tight end dart throw that I mentioned, the next one, the final tight end on this list is Chig Agholor. So last season, to finish the season, in his most recent 5 games, 6+ targets in 4 of them. And he was playing the full-time role. A lot of times when you look at the box score, you look at the fantasy points scored by a player, sometimes it's not super impressive, but for some reason they're playing 40% of snaps or 50% of snaps. Chig, in that full-time role, was upwards of 60%, which is pretty good for a tight end. So you have to look at the games that actually matter when you're evaluating a player. And that's, again, if the reasons for them on lower snaps are justified, which in Chig's case it was. He scored as a top 10 tight end. In the final weeks of the season, weeks 12 through 17, he was top 10 overall among all tight ends. Again, going pretty close to like 150, 200 overall. And we've seen flashes of greatness here from Chig Agholor for seasons in a row now, whether it's a monster play here, he's mossing someone in the end zone, a touchdown, whatever it is, okay, hurdling, stiff arming. We've seen these flashes, and I just believe he needs a QB to unlock his ceiling. So going back to Cam Ward, if Cam Ward can get it done and just be what he's supposed to be, Chig Agholor is going to be a nice value. There's no one competing for tight end versus him on this team. He's a nice tight end dart throw. And now we make our way to the RB handcuff, who I think, quite honestly, is potentially the most valuable handcuff in fantasy. It's Will Shipley. I'm hearing A.J. Dillon talks. A.J. Dillon is now an Eagle. Guys, Will Shipley will get the work over A.J. Dillon, in my opinion. I'm always betting on good rookies, good second-year players, good young players over veterans, okay? A.J. Dillon is simply a depth piece. One of the worst running backs in the NFL on a per-touch basis when running the ball, okay? Now, with Will Shipley, he is the priority handcuff. He is the clear RB2 in Philly for Saquon Barkley. Now, this is a bit of a touchy subject for some people, and I can't say I love it either, but I'm just going to present you with some facts. You can do with them what you want. So Saquon Barkley is 28. He is now older than the prime fantasy football running back age window. It's just a fact. Secondly, another fact is that he led the position last year in touches. Saquon Barkley did. Only 2 of the last 12 running back touch leaders have finished top 12 at the position the next season. So Shipley is an elite handcuff. I mean, honestly, guys, doesn't matter if those trends are meaningful to you or not. Anytime you have an elite running back who's getting the majority, I mean, close to 80, 90% of the work in the backfield, their handcuff's probably going to be valuable, because even if that player were to go down, the entire scheme doesn't change. We've seen this for the Rams for so long. When the Rams starter misses a game here or there, whoever it is, plug and play. Niners, same thing. McCaffrey down, backup in, top 12 running back for fantasy, because the scheme doesn't change. The player is a little worse, but the scheme doesn't change. So Will Shipley is a guy who I'm trying to roster deep in drafts. Next up is Roman Wilson, guys. The second-year wide receiver out of Michigan, still on the Steelers. And this time last year, he was a hopeful rookie, coming off an injury, and then he never could come back to form. Only played 1 game, and played is a strong word, played minimal snaps. Played a snap in like 1 game, I should say. But the Steelers wide receiver 2 job, guys, is wide open. The competition here, I mean, this is even worse than the Titans. The competition is Brandon Johnson, Calvin Austin, Ben Skoranek, Scotty Miller. Brother. I mean, come on. Anyone can win this job, seriously. And by anyone, I mean like you, me, and Roman Wilson. I think Aaron Rodgers can support 2 fantasy relevant or better wide receivers. Last year, it was the or better scenario with Wilson and Adams both cooking as top 20, top 15, sometimes top 10 wide receivers game to game. So with Rodgers there, it's going to be DK and whoever wants the ball after him. I know Jonnu Smith just got traded to the Steelers. We've seen Jonnu Smith in an Arthur Smith offense, and it's not awesome, okay? Now, there are a few other guys that I'm targeting in drafts to give you some bonus picks here. Pat Bryant is right now the wide receiver 2 on the Broncos, drafted by Sean Payton to kind of be the next Michael Thomas, because all Sean Payton does is try to recreate every single year the offensive that has worked for him in the past, like on the Saints. He's trying to bring it to the Broncos. It's been a couple of years in the making now, but moral of the story is Pat Bryant was drafted to be Michael Thomas. I just cringe saying that. Whoever the wide receiver 2 is in Denver, if there even is someone, right? Maybe it's Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, Pat Bryant, whoever that person is, whoever that player is going to be pretty good option as a wide receiver 4 for fantasy. So maybe that's a starter for you. Maybe it's first off the bench type of deal. Next up, we have Jaylen Noel, the rookie. Also a monster wide receiver, going a little deeper in drafts on the Texans. Trey Benson. I mean, James Conner has missed a game in just about every year of his career, at least one game. So Benson should get some run. They didn't bring anyone in the draft. Deontay Johnson, I mentioned him before. Deontay has issues, okay? Like, it's off the field, it's on the field, whatever his problem is. But when he's fully active, ready to go, he's a very talented wide receiver who earns targets. So in PPR leagues, that late in drafts, I mean, Deontay could be a pretty good value. Jermaine Burton, and I mean, if we're talking about off the field issues, he might be the CEO of these things. But he is right now the wide receiver 4 on the Bengals. Yoshi Voss is the wide receiver 3. And then, like, if somebody were to get hurt, obviously Gesicki plays in. But I really just am expecting a monster season from the Bengals. So if Burton can figure out the issues off the field, he could be a pretty good play late in drafts. I mean, I'm talking this guy's going like 250. And I mentioned Troy Franklin before. Broncos wide receiver, like I said, whoever is going to win that Broncos job, guys, is going to be a value. So those are some deep sleepers. I think we hit 16 deep sleepers to target. Write this list down. Follow on Twitter at Joe Orico FF, at NoExpertFF. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.